Okay, so how old were you when the Japanese occupation started?
Invaded?
I was a young boy. I think before going to primary school.
Okay, before primary school.
Yeah.
Okay, how was life like during the Japanese occupation?
Very tough.
Very
Food
tough.
is a problem. So you have to mix sweet potatoes with the rice. For ordinary people.
Okay.
For rich people, they can take rice. But
then
for
what
us,
about poor people?
pardon?
Poor people.
Yeah, no, poor or average.
Okay.
Right? You have to mix with sweet potatoes with the rice. Can you eat the rice with sweet potatoes? Sweet, very different, but you have to eat. And then the veggie is very simple. No chicken. Chicken only once a year. New Year's Eve. Other times, no chicken. Here, every day you eat Kentucky chicken, correct? Then, no money to buy chicken.
Okay, then after that, then before the Japanese occupation, were you having a suitable life?
Yes. Before the Japanese came, the British were controlling. Right?
Were they okay to civilians?
Yes, I think they were not so cruel as the Japanese.
Okay, what did the Japanese do when they invaded Singapore?
When they controlled Singapore?
Yes.
I was in Malaysia, not in Singapore, but in Singapore it's the same. So they were very strict. The whole country was under military rule. Kempitai, they call it. Kempitai. Right? Okay. Military rule. So they were very strict. If a person was suspected of
being a traitor?
Either being a communist or rebelling against him, straight away jail and tortured. You know how they tortured? Have you heard of the water treatment?
No.
The prisoner will be lying on the floor. You know the car washing machine, how powerful the jets were.
Yes.
Okay. Put in the mouth until the person's stomach become like this, and they will stand on the table, jump on the stomach, so the water comes out through the nose, eyes. So they will ask you, are you a communist? Who's your leader? If you are innocent, say no. Second time, stomach, jump. How many times can you stand? Sometimes people will kill under torture. That's how the Japanese torture. Another way was the person will be lying on the floor. They use the iron the skin. How do you find?
Then how do they treat people who are not suspected? Like
they just as long as they don't suspect you, it's okay. Then you lead your normal life.
But what if you pass by them?
The sentry. You know, every police station or whatever, there's a Japanese sentry. Japanese sentry, you know who were they? Farmers. When they were in Japan, conscripted, they were farmers, ordinary people. So they stand there. Any person who passed by the sentry had to bow. You know how do you bow? You stand up. Now, how do you bow to a person? The Japanese say, Guru. Guru means come. Wrong way of bowing. You must bow, the head must be below the knee. Okay, bow below the knee. Someone below the knee. That's the way you bow. If you bow like this, the Japanese say, Guru. At first, the people didn't know the way to bow. Then later on, they realized when you bow, your forehead must be below the knee. So the Japanese say, let's go. So we won't get slapped. Now, another way of torture is this. If they suspected you as, even if you steal something, very simple. The Japanese ask you, which hand did you steal? Right hand. Chop the right hand. And if they don't chop the hand, they tie you in the post in the sun, market, sun tanning for the whole day. In Japanese, very common to see people sun tanning. You see how the Japanese treat Singaporeans and Malaysians? They
The,
were military, they were soldiers.
the Malaysians were tortured as well.
Same. Singapore and Malaysia is the same. Right?
Then after the Japanese occupation, how was your life changed?
Oh, at first, of course, when the British came back, the food wasn't enough, but slowly they imported food from the Commonwealth countries, so the people had at least rice to eat. At first, you have to mix rice with sweet potatoes. Now you can eat pure rice. Slowly, the life became slightly better. Not like now, huh? So slowly better.
But like after the Japanese occupation, did anything remain the same?
Anything?
You mean the city? Yes.
Pardon?
After the Japanese
Ah.
occupation, like was there anything like did it do any permanent damage?
Any permanent damage? Damage in what sense? The economy.
Like example, some people were rich at first, but then became poor, then stayed poor for like that.
Of course, if a person doesn't work, he will be poor.
Then during the Japanese occupation, were jobs limited?
You have to do whatever jobs you could find during Japanese occupation, because it's not like Singapore planning. So you have to do any job that you could find. Right? Even your coffee boy also, you have to do it.
Then did your parents find any like better paid jobs, or were some of them unemployed?
Of course, some people were unemployed. Right?
So their life. What do they do to the kids like you when you're in JU?
You mean the Japanese?
Yeah, what do they do to the kids?
To the kids. As long as the kids don't give them trouble, they leave them alone. Right? If the kids give them trouble, they will even slap or even kick. They will kick the person with the boots. So now people think the Japanese products. I think every house has Japanese products. Japanese very grand. But during the Japanese occupation, you look at them, you got scared. You have no experience of Japanese time. When the Japanese come to Singapore, you say, "Wow, very good Japanese." But if you experience that, you say, "Wow, your uncle was the one that bullied us." Correct? Your father or your grand uncle. Right? So that is a Japanese time. It's a terrible period.
How was the food rationing?
How was that?
The food rationing, did you have to line up to get food to eat?
We have ration. You know the ration? Yes. They give us a card. So every family was allowed to buy so much rice. That's all. Not much enough. So you cannot go and buy rice from the provision shop. Provision shop won't sell. You have to have a ration. So you have to buy.
How about the water supply? Was there any change in water?
The water? You mean water?
Was there did you have to?
No, water, no problem, because we are surrounded by water. The Japanese inherited the water system from the British. Therefore, they use a system, not too bad. Right? So we can use water from the pipe.
Were there black markets that sold?
Plenty. Just like rice, I told you. Some shopkeepers, instead of selling you that amount, they sell you less. So each person less, they have a lot, isn't it? So you sell it to black market quietly.
So black markets were forbidden, or?
No, they were all everywhere, black markets.
But the Japanese don't allow people to take and sell there.
Japanese don't allow what?
Is it illegal? Like, do they allow do the Japanese people allow the people to buy?
Yes, no, they knew, but English A B C D E, Japanese R E U A O, Ka Ki Ku Ke Ko, Sa Si Su Se So. So from this, like English A T H C D K, Japanese say O R U. So they join the two syllable, two alphabet. to make a word. Like A, B, C, D, E, R, E, U, A, O. Ka, Ti, Ku, Ke, Ko. Sa, Si, Su, Se, So. Ma, Mi, Mu, Me, Mo. I can still remember the Japanese alphabet. So they combine the two alphabets to become a word. Right?
Were there any riots or uprisings against the
Oh,
Japanese?
there were plenty in the jungle. So those people who were against the Japanese, they went to the jungle. They joined what was known as a communist. The British called them communists, like Jinping. I think you have heard Jinping, right? What happened to Jinping? You must know. He was a leader of the Malayan Communist Party, MCP. He passed away in Bangkok. The leader of the revolution, now he has passed away. So those people who were against the Japanese, they went to the jungle. The British helped them at that time, during the Japanese. So they went in the jungle. The British used to drop them food, medicine.
So they fly a plane over and...
Yes, you could see one. At the time, the aeroplane was called B-29, 52 or 29. They call it a propeller plane. You know, propeller. So sometimes if you live near the jungle, you could see parachute dropping food to the communists in the jungle.
But didn't the Japanese know?
They knew. But sometimes the Japanese also dare not go in the jungle so much because there will be a lot of people who shoot them, correct? The communists. So as far as possible, they just, if the parachute dropped near the town, of course they went there. But the parachute always dropped in the jungle, deep in the jungle. But if you live in a certain place in the town, you can see the parachute dropping. The food, medicine, to the what do you call it? MCP. Right? So that's how the people in the jungle could survive.
Anything else to say?
Compared to from the kind soldiers to the unkind soldiers, how different do they treat you?
The Japanese.
Yeah, like the kind and the unkind
the
soldiers.
Most of the soldiers were unkind because they were uneducated. They were farmers, fishermen. They were conscripted, forced to join the army. Only the educated were the captain and all those. So these people were very, very rude. No manners. But one thing good about them is they obey the orders of the captain. They would charge.
So they only know how to fight, but not to...
So that's why the Japanese army was so strong.
Okay.
They worship the emperor like God. Just like you go to Thailand. You know Thailand? Have you been to Thailand?
Yeah,
How do the people consider the king of Thailand? Like God. When they see the photo of the king, they salute. In Thailand, in Singapore, when they see the president, do you salute?
Really?
You want prime minister is for, but you go to Thailand, they salute,
So
and you cannot make fun of the photo of the king. Thailand. So in Japanese also same.
So they're very loyal.
Consider the emperor as a god. So they are fighting for the emperor, fighting for God. Therefore, they don't mind sacrificing their life. Because the Japanese soldiers were so, their army was so strong in the beginning.
I think we have
So
nothing.
how do you manage to survive through the Japanese occupation?
How what?
Do you manage to survive through? Of course,
No, I mean how do you make your way through?
Oh, we have to eat whatever we cook.
Fine.
Sometimes more, what do you call it? Sweet potatoes or tapioca. Now tapioca is very expensive. The sweet potato you go to NTUC, you see, $1, one tube. In those days, we grew our own sweet potatoes. So free. Now, one sweet potato, $1, $1.50. When I look at it, I shook my head. So we planted our own sweet potatoes and whatever. So we depended on the land for survival. But we always became hungry. That's why people get sore easily Japanese time. For no reason, the sore came up.
Then after that, do Japanese sometimes invade houses?
Invade
Invade the civilians' houses, and
They-
how do they treat the adults, like the women and the children?
Oh, if woman suspected of being a communist, just the same water treatment.
So they were equal to
They don't care whether man or woman. Jump.
They would rape women, right?
Pardon?
Would they rape the woman
Yes, they do anything.
for no reason?
When they first enter a country, yes,
They rape for no reason.
the captain, the general allowed them 3 days of free whatever you want to do. Like if you study the history of Nanking, have you heard of the rape of Nanking in China?
Yeah.
When the Japanese captured Nanking, they allowed the soldiers to do whatever they like. 3 days and 3 nights. That's why a lot of young girls were raped and many people were killed. This is the reward given to the soldiers. So in Singapore, the same. Once they captured Singapore, they allowed them 1 or 2 days to do whatever they like.
Okay.
That's why if you are younger in Japanese time, it's a pity you better go and hide. There were many women who dressed themselves like men, shave their hair.
What's life like during the Japanese occupation?
Very tough,
Occupation.
very tough.
Very
Food
tough.
is a problem. Food is a problem. So you have to mix sweet potatoes. You have to mix sweet potatoes with the rice for ordinary rice. For ordinary people,
Okay.
For rich people, ordinary people,
Okay.
For rich people, they can take rice. But
Then
for
what
us,
about poor people?
they can take rice. But
Then
for
what
us,
about poor people?
pardon,
Poor people.
pardon,
Poor people.
yeah, not poor or average. Yeah, not poor or average.
Oh, okay.
Right? You have to mix.
Oh, okay.
Right? You have to mix with sweet potatoes with the rice. Mix with sweet potatoes with the rice. Can you eat the rice? Can you eat the rice with sweet potatoes? Sweet potatoes. Sweet, very different. What you have to eat. It's very different. What you have to eat.
Would they, would they,
And then
would they,
and then the veggie is very simple. The veggie is very simple. Simple. No chicken. Chicken only once a year. No chicken. Chicken only once a year. New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve. Other times, no chicken. Here, every day you eat Kentucky chicken, correct? Right? There, no money to buy chicken.
Okay. Then after that, then before the Japanese occupation, were you having a suitable life?
Yes.
Before
The Japanese came, the British were controlling. Right?
were they okay to civilians?
Yes, I think they were not so cruel as the Japanese.
Okay. What did the Japanese do when they invaded Singapore?
When they control Singapore.
Yes.
I was in Malaysia, not in Singapore, but in Singapore is the same. So they were very strict. The whole country was under military rule. Kempitai, they call it Kempitai, right?
Okay.
Military rule. So they were very strict. If a person was suspected of
Being a traitor.
either being a communist or rebelling against them, straight away jail and tortured. You know how they tortured? Have you heard of the water treatment?
No.
The prisoner will be lying on the floor. You know the car washing machine,
Yes.
how powerful the jets were.
Yes.
Okay. Put in the mouth until the person's stomach become like this, and they will stand on the table, jump on the stomach, so the water comes out through the nose, eyes. So they will ask you, "Are you a communist? Who's your leader?" If you
Did the Japanese occupation bring any changes to the lives of
was changed and taken over by the Japanese, who turned it into a gambling den to attract gamblers.
which aspect Which aspects of their lives remain the same?
The Japanese occupation did not affect the locals' gambling activities. In fact, the locals were drawn to gambling for the chance to increase their money. The activities of smoking opium and chandol remains the same before and during the Japanese occupation. Locals